Luca Nation, episode 815, as we begin our march to 1,000, which is just crazy to think about. When we started this, my sister was like, "Hey, Andrew, remember you were still living with your parents when you started this, and now you have this big time podcast." And I was like, "Ariel, I'm still living with my parents."
Pretty much me. And 815 episodes during that time, you've lived in a vast multitude of different places.
It's true.
During that 815, you were working. You had a job when we first started.
I did not have a job. It was a contractor position. Do not say that ever again.
It wasn't a job? I mean, I didn't call you an employee, but you were working, right? Whether you're a contractor or not, you still are working.
Interesting. How the tables have turned. You are right. Once again.
You are not an employee. I will never call you an employee. You've made this very clear to me. I will never be anyone's employee.
It was actually pretty cool because the position was with it was a SaaS company that helped people launch courses online, and the CEO wanted us to market him, and all of the things that I got to practice there are things that we apply to our show. So it's really funny how the world works. You know, I always think of the Steve Jobs quote: "You can't connect the dots moving forward. You could only connect them moving backwards." So as much as I despise working for anybody, all of the experiences I've had in my past have helped me get here.
Love it. And there you go. So 815 episodes. It's pretty impressive. We got Thursday night football tonight. Many people are listening to this probably during the game, maybe halftime, maybe the game already happened. We hear about some pretty big destruction down in Florida. Our pal Bro Namath just sent me some videos down there. So our thoughts and prayers with anybody who's in the eye of the storm there. Top of mind for me today. I mean, people love me attacking Aaron Judge. They said I was the reason for his slump there, not hitting a home run. But let's acknowledge it, right? We, we're a daily podcast, so we're able to kind of talk about, sports that happened yesterday when we do a show every day, instead of the other podcasts out there that are still telling you who to draft in your fantasy baseball league in this week's episode. So the home run hit in Toronto, which, takes a little bit of the coolness factor out of it. And there was a dude who got his glove on it, basically. Like, he was in the right spot. He was in the right seat, lightning strike, puts his glove down to try to catch it. Gets a piece of the glove and he can't catch it. I mean, it would have been an impressive, lean over kind of Jeffrey Mayer style catch to get it, but he doesn't catch it. So a couple things. Number one, I couldn't sleep. Like, it would take me a while that I had that $1 million in my glove, basically hitting off my glove and dropped it. So that would make me a little mad. Number two, the guy who caught it, well, the guy who ultimately ended up with it, is a bullpen coach, a former Major League Baseball player. And guys, if you haven't seen this yet, take a look. Just do a little digging. I think Ravel posted about it. He also posted about the guy who caught Hank Aaron's 715th home run, who also was a bullpen, like a pitching coach at the time, and he responded, which is pretty cool. The things that come out of the woodwork on Twitter, right? But anyway, the guy who caught it's a coach of Toronto, and his wife is a sports reporter, I think right now for NFL Network, I think. And she was reporting on, a game, she was reporting on something, and, got word that it was her husband who got the ball. And it's just funny to see the tweets as they were going on, like, "Hey guys, reporting this as a sports reporter, it was my husband who got this ball. So as it turns out, I'll be announcing my retirement right now, from the job." And then the next tweet is like a picture of her husband handing the ball over. I think he handed over to Zach Britton to basically give it back to the Yankees. And Judge, ultimately gave the ball to his mother, but it's giving it back. And then the next tweet from his wife is, turns out, here it is, he's given the ball back to the Yankees. So instead of retirement, this is the tweet, me letting everyone know that I'm filing for divorce.
I like her style.
Yeah,
she's funny.
Yeah, so I mean, take a look. It's just funny to see kind of how the progression goes. I meant to look it up today, and maybe I still will. I know that when a ball goes into a crowd, it's treated as quote unquote abandoned property by the MLB. So if a ball goes in a crowd in a game, it is the property of whoever gets it. That is, the MLB does not have any right to that anymore. It's not like that in every sport. I remember going to some soccer
Soccer's
games.
not like that.
There you go,
have to give
man.
the soccer ball back.
And I remember sitting next to my Pee Wee soccer coach, youth soccer coach, I was the goalie, and he got hit in the head with a ball. And he looked at me and was like, "Why do I bring my goalie if I'm gonna get, you got to stop those?" Like, I'll never forget it. As just a little kid, I felt really bad. I was like, "Oh man, I let my coach down." I gotta. So the rest of the game, instead of like focusing on hot dogs, I was like this, like the ball's gonna come in the crowd. I can't let my coach get hit. I was Paul Blart, mall cop there for a second. But anyway, it's abandoned property.
A grown man needs a kid to defend him.
That's it. I think that there are other rules. I mean, he is an employee of an MLB organization. So the guy who got this is an employee of Toronto, and I'm sure they have. I mean, even if it's not a written agreement, I'm sure there's a reciprocity type of thing, that between teams. I mean, you wouldn't want him keep the ball, and then the next time someone from Toronto has a momentous hit, the Yankees are like, "We're not giving it. Screw that."
Do you think it hurts this record that it's a pseudo record? Like it's
there's half a very good point.
Half of Twitter is like, what about Bonds, McGuire, and Sosa? And then the other half is like they're cheaters. And then the third half, so 150%, are like, wait, but the pitchers were using steroids back then too, so it makes their feet.
Can I give you a fourth half? I mean, three halves, that's a big person. Three halves, I mean, that's 1.5, but I'll give you a fourth half. It is not a record at all. And I'm not saying that because I'm not in the camp of
I hate the Yankees.
No, I love the Yankees. But bear with me. I'm also a vintage collector. I'm an old guy.
You didn't go to the opening day this year or last year.
I didn't. But I may go to some playoff games. So anyway, you ready? So just bear with me. The steroid stuff, I'll take that second. Yes, you want to say right now Aaron Judge has the 9th best season in the history of baseball from a home run perspective. You're correct. Right, the records count. You could hate steroids, you name it, but Barry Bonds hit 73 in a season, and McGuire hit 70, and Sosa still has 3 seasons with more home runs than what Judge has right now. So yes, you can kind of poo-poo it. The one thing that you can't take away, although I'm about to, is that Aaron Judge has the American League record tied with Roger Maris now. Okay, because he has 61. Those guys, steroids, no steroids, they all did it in the National League. Okay, Bonds, Sosa, McGuire, those were all National League. So, the importance of this is it's still a record. It's the American League. The leagues are split. There are MVPs. There's triple crowns. They count the best batting average by
league. Basketball, you're not the scoring leader in the Eastern Conference.
It's different. You're right. And they don't do it that way. They don't have like an MVP for each conference, whereas in baseball they do. Right?
They do, but I think it's like to a less degree, right?
No, they have have an MVP. I mean, they have an MVP as AL MVP and an NL MVP, and they have, if you win the Triple Crown, Aaron Judge is, I think, 4th in batting average. He's not first. I think Pete Alonso has significantly more RBIs than he has. There are players in the National League who have a higher batting average. Like he's not, if he wins a Triple Crown, it's not Triple Crown of all of baseball. It's Triple Crown of the American League. I don't know if you knew that or not. So it is a difference. So we're talking about like differences in sports. The ball being in play and being abandoned property is different in different sports. This AL MVP, these records. But I'm going to throw some ice water on this also. Do you know that when Roger Maris hit his 61 home runs in 1961, that the record book had an asterisk on it for a while?
Why?
That even though he hit 61 and that was the record and no one had ever hit 61, I'll tell you why. And let me ask this question before I give you the reason why, and tell you why Aaron Judge's accomplishment also needs to be taken with a shaker of salt.
Everything in baseball is
Do you know what the Yankees' record is right now? Can you look it up?
$96-59.
Okay, add those together. How many games they played? 96 and
155.
155 games. So Aaron Judge hit his 61st home run in 155 games. 155. Easy to remember, right? It took him 155 games to hit 61 home runs. Okay. When Babe Ruth hit 60 home runs in a season, do you know how many games they played?
100.
154.
8 games less.
So in 154 games, Aaron Judge tied Babe Ruth. They both had 60 home runs, just like Roger Maris did. Maris hit his home run also after 154 games. He hit it in a 162 game season. Now, it's easier to throw that asterisk on there because just one home run. You could assume Ruth probably would have hit one home run in the final 8 games. Maybe he would have hit more, which is why I put an asterisk. I don't know how many Judge is going to end up with. Maybe he ends up with 62, which gives him, more than Maris in a 162-game season. But he still only hit 60 in 154. So you have a whole bunch of, hey, one half says it's steroids, one half says the pitchers are with steroids, one half says who cares. Well, there's another half that says all Judge did was tie Root's mark in 154 games. He didn't hit his 61st until 155. So just another fun reason why this special season, and I don't want to take anything away from it, it's a special season. If you hit 62 home runs in a Triple Crown year, that's pretty crazy. And Xander Bogaerts, Luis Arraez, the guys who were batting 315, 316 a week ago, they're making it real easy for Judge because Judge is slumping his way into the batting title because those guys are not hitting either. So, it looks like right now he might win the Triple Crown, and as long as he, in the next 7 games, hits a home run, he'll have the new quote-unquote AL home run record. But yeah, so there's your deal. I will tell you, because you question my Yankee fandom, if you poll any true Yankee fan right now and what they think about this season, what they would say is probably 3 things. 1, the Yankees should lock him up and find some way to keep Judge with them because he's been a consummate professional and he's earned his money and, they can't see him playing somewhere else. 2, this is an amazing season. 1, for the record books, he's the clear-cut MVP and everybody loves what he's doing. But 3, and the overriding 3, which is more important than 2 and 1, if he doesn't have a good playoffs, none of it matters. It's sort of like the Patriots team that went undefeated. All anyone remembers is that they didn't win the Super Bowl. Same kind of thing. Yankees do not become Yankees. They do not earn their pinstripes in the regular season, no matter what they do in that regular season. You got to win.
It's still crazy that the Patriots and the Warriors, after historic seasons, didn't win those championships. I got it. Still blows my mind. Both of those teams are so far and away better than every other team and didn't finish with a championship.
That's sports. You can be right about how great a player is. Giannis could feasibly be the best player this decade. And he may only win one championship.
He's the best player, but he doesn't have the best team. That team was insane. The margin of victory on that team was just something else. And that Patriots team also, they were just blowing teams out. Far and away better than every team.
They were a very good team. But you know what? Any given Sunday.
Are you thinking about the economy at all? So, as we record this, the Dow is down 600 points.
Woo!
3%.
I did not look at that today. That's pretty terrible. How's Bitcoin doing? Shitty?
They usually work in conjunction. I do think Bitcoin is very interesting because it seems like it's settled in that, what we always say, the support above previous highs. So people who have been in crypto from 2017 remember that the previous high was about 1,800 in December of 2017. Is that right?
18,000, yeah.
And there's this, I don't know if you want to call it technical analysis, that the previous high is the support level for this low. And it's actually held up really strong given where we're at now. So it's at 19,000. So Bitcoin's pretty flat, and so is ETH. Any thoughts of that? You made a post today about the Marvel cards. Do you think we're just going through a market-wide correction?
Yeah. So, listen, I don't know if it's a market-wide correction. We've seen some posts, for people comparing like baseball cards, basketball cards, run-ups and non-run-ups. And I think what I would be looking for in investing in cards right now is something that has a track record, something that had value before COVID run-up. I think you almost can have like a BC and an AD. Like a BC is before COVID, right? And then like AD is like, I guess, after the dumbness.
Davis.
Yeah, Anthony Davis, street clothes. No, but like, after the dump or whatever it is, you know what I mean? Like, think about it that way. If you look at guys' cards, you can find a lot of cards that are, they ran up in COVID, but they're back to their pre-COVID prices. But then I would take a second look and look at whether or not those are cards or players that had value before the COVID run-up, whether or not people were actually looking for those before this massive, injection of capital and interest in COVID, in the cards, because of COVID. I would think that could lead to me preaching some caution about cards, and that, something. Look, there's a reason why basketball cards are the prices that they are as opposed to baseball cards. We've talked about this. You think baseball's going to die, right? The recent influx
Baseball
of money
is dying.
Well, the recent influx of money here is in basketball, right? The people who came into basketball, and you can see that most of the basketball cards that have run, they have not gotten anywhere near what their pre-COVID prices were. Whereas a lot of baseball is coming back down. A lot of it coming back down to those pre-COVID prices. You could take that a bunch of ways. One, okay, well, baseball is back to where it was because baseball's not doing anything. None of their superstars are running. None of their superstars are doing great. The face of the league are people who injured. Tatis is steroids. The league is not exciting. You could say that baseball is just down because it's baseball. You could also take the other side and say, watch out, basketball hasn't had the run down the way that baseball has. It'd be interesting for me to see what happens with basketball as the season comes. And we're now just, 2 weeks away basically from the season starting up. And, I'm watching football cards. I'm watching Aaron Rodgers. PWCC has the next premiere. It's got some really nice Rodgers cards, like really nice that you don't even see, which is weird because why come out now? Blah, blah, blah. I'm watching Brady cards.
This is the last chance to sell, in my opinion.
Maybe. And I'd love to hear your opinion on it. But the follow through that I have there is, what happens when people lose money on the ultra modern? Do the cards that also ran up of the greats, of the guys who have a track record that weren't steamed like crazy because of potential, the ones that are at the end of the career already, do those follow suit and go down the way that they did in baseball? Or does vintage hold? Like, what's going to happen? Because then I think you saw it in baseball. You get to watch what happens in football, and you kind of had an idea of what's going to happen in basketball. So, talk to me. You made a little comment.
So Cage preaches caution
Yes.
when it comes to what's happening in the market. I preach caution to who you guys listen to.
Ooh, hey now. Don't listen to me then, I guess.
Well, we'll have this discussion, and there's a great quote. It's they say when a nuclear holocaust destroys the world, only the cockroaches will survive.
It's true.
And that got me thinking about what's happening in the market today, Cage. And what I mean by that is we're going through a pricing, let's say, nuclear kind of attack. Let's use that metaphor, right? And there were people, influencers, hyping all kinds of shit the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And now the way you're able to see which ones of those were cockroaches are the ones that are eerily quiet. The ones you're not getting much advice from on what do you do now? The ones that were buy. Look at this cards. Look at this garage sale. Look at these crypto. Look at these Bored Apes. Look at brain vomit. And now nothing. Now hush, hush, hush.
Brain vomit.
But I thought you loved sports cards and you've been collecting for so many years.
By the way, this is why I said
did you
stick
go?
to stuff with a track record too. Stick to stuff with a track record because, now that you have F1 with every different variation of all these guys and you have all these cards coming out, right? Now that you have, Marvel, you could, look, Spider-Man Metal just came out. There's a new shiny toy. Like Andrew likes to say, people will move their money into the new shiny toy. I think what we all have to be aware of, and I think what you're saying is the things without a track record, they're the ones that are easy to pump and, let's use the word, manipulate. And it's easy to kind of be like, look, I love these. I love this. Look at this price. Look at this. And then you're able to, it's quote unquote price discovery, right? But to the people, talking about those things, they really love them. Like I tag Gingy Man cards on my Marvel post.
He loves it.
That dude loves Marvel.
Yeah.
Like he loves the cards, right? So he's buying stuff he loves. But I hear him reporting on pricing. I don't hear him saying, everyone go out there and buy this set, this 2013 Fleer Retro. It's the blah, blah, blah. It's the greatest thing in the world. And then, a couple months later, you notice that his PC is missing all of those cards. Now, what I mean? Like, it's not so.
And why I bring this up, guys, is honestly, in lieu of some financial benefits that I may have gotten, we've decided to go the route of transparency and honesty and walking through this investment collecting space with cards. I think using a time like this, maybe the goal is not to always win on these investments, but it's to get a little clarity. It's to understand, why am I in this? Who am I in this with? And who are the people that truly care about my well-being? Because when everything is good and everything's going up, it's easy to clip your predictions, put them out on Instagram, and show the world how right you are. But my ask is, why not clip those predictions when you're wrong? When you say Kevin Durant rookies are the best thing to buy, and you're wrong, and you lost people a lot of money. Or when you partner with people and sell $6,000 Giannis prisms in a box, and you screw them over. Why not say, hey, man, like I've been through a few cycles. This is how I navigate it. Not by going and buying stuffed animals that don't sell just for content. Why not actually walk people through, the people that you care so much about?
I'm with you. And I'll be the first to admit it. Telling you guys to buy Jared Culver in episode 12 was a loser. I said Jared Culver, and here's why it's a loser. The market changed so much. Not to mention he kind of sucks. But, you don't realize what's going to happen. And I guess now I do. When there's a modicum of success, when card companies and people have any type of success, they are going to print stuff like crazy. The perfect example I can give you, and I know a lot of people turn it off when we start talking about it, but I don't really care. It's Top Shot. I only talk about that because it's a great example of, when we came into it, there was such a limited supply and so much demand. But you didn't know what was going to happen after those first couple of weeks. Everything was great. Everything was moving. And then all of a sudden, the people behind it realized that there was a demand that they could capitalize on, and they printed the hell out of it. And they just made way too many. And it basically cut the legs out from what could have been, if there was a little bit of patience and a little bit of let's go in slowly, what could have been something that was really great. I'm going to be live with Panini. It will have happened by the time you listen to this. I'm doing this afternoon. And I if they asked me about it, it's one thing I would have changed about them. They printed NFL Prism packs. I don't even think they could sell out of them. They printed more of them than anyone will ever want to buy. And that's greed. I tell that story, and, Andrew probably doesn't like it, and I have to clean it up because I know we got kids listening, but it's from the movie Colors, about the father bull and the son bull at the top of the mountain looking down at the Valley of Cows. And look it up. That's why I don't ruin it. But you guys know the point. Be patient. And be patient, plan it out, do it the right way, and you can actually come out better on the other side. You might not get the quick win, but you're going to get more wins over time. So how do we translate your panic, your attacking of influencers?
I don't think it's a panic. I just think, look, nothing in my life came easy. So I had to work for everything that I've achieved. And that's made every day I wake up and it feels like a battle. And I do believe that every day is a battle between good and evil. I really do believe it's out there. And I think the good versus evil, it's the people who want to genuinely help people. And then there's the people who want to take for themselves. They have the greed. They sometimes masquerade over, I care about you. They don't care about you. And my panic is, or not my panic, but there's not a ton of winning plays now. There's not a ton of opportunities.
Okay, so that's good.
It's a challenging market. Prices are going up. Gas is expensive. Food is expensive. All of, the things are expensive. Interest rates are higher, so there's less cash in the system. All of this stuff plays out. But we're going to have another bull run. Nobody knows when. It might be in a year. It might be in 2 years. It might be in 6 months. We don't know. There's these huge political things going on, macro, micro, the war in Ukraine, all that stuff. It's real. My ask of people is to be very cautious and see if the people that they're listening to for advice, suggestions, etc., are genuinely putting out that advice in their best interest. And if they have a track record of having predictions that really work out, and they have a track record of doing right by their community. And I think it's easier to see who those people are in a down market than in a good market. In a good market, there's so much noise and clutter. It's hard to say who's good or who's bad, right? Who's pumping,
Yes.
or what's an organic price, just appreciation. It's hard to know because everything's going up. One thing's go down, and you have people who were so excited about the NFT space. Not talking about it anymore. People who are collectors their whole life since they were a kid. And they moved to Edison, New Jersey, and their mom knitted them this awesome Jets jersey. And they go to flea markets, and they don't talk about cards at all. In a down market, which in theory, if you have all the money in the world and you truly love cards, it's actually the right time to buy, right? I think it shows people true colors, and all people on the listening end or the watching end have to do is pay attention.
So let me take a stab at this. Not politics, but if you were to look back at midterm election years, you notice that the markets don't do well until after the election. And I'm not talking about who wins, who loses, because the markets will be fine no matter who. Exactly, that's the word. The markets will be fine no matter who wins. But when elections are decided, the market knows what's going to happen and has certainty. Right now, there is uncertainty in who's going to have control, how that impacts the money, how that impacts different initiatives, you name it. And up until November, when we have certainty on the election, I think we're going to have these up and down market type days, probably more down than up. I think you probably see, a little bit of a comeback after that once the market can price in where it's actually headed and has that certainty that it craves. How that impacts cards. Let me just throw one more observation in. People love this stuff. We talk about shit that no one talks about. We talk about the creative pricing. We talk about that stuff. Let me throw this one out there. It's not just COVID. It's the run-up has had a couple of cycles now. Now, follow me with this. Sometimes wins are losses for the overall market. Now, let me explain. Let me pull that out. Part of what you said is it's tough in a market like this to find winners. I would like to take it one step further and say even the winners, they are temporary wins for individuals, but they become losses for the overall market and for the hobby in general. Now, let me talk about it. What are some of the winners that are out there? And we've seen winners over time, but let's look at a couple of winners right now.
Lewis Hamilton Futero card was a huge winner, record price on that card.
So Marvel. That's fine. By the way, so let's use that Futera in a second, okay? Current winners, right? Let's say people who bought Jalen Hurts and Tua in the offseason.
Okay.
All right? Because that's what people are holding out right now. They're the two undefeated quarterbacks. Their prices are double what they were literally 2 months ago. So, if people listen to this, they're probably sitting there saying, what are these idiots talking about? Of course they're winners. You just have to pick the right stuff. You have to invest the right people who are going to, like me, I invested in Tua. I invested in Jalen Hurts. I invested in blah, 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 blah. Okay, great. So now, for the people who bought Tua, for the individuals who bought Tua and Jalen Hurts, at what I say are already inflated prices in the offseason, right? Forget about the ones that bought Mac Jones and those guys. But they'll have a win. If they sell now, they sell this season, they sell, right now, they'll have a win. They're going to make money on their cards. And they can hold this out and say, look, cards is a place you can still make money. Look what I did. As long as you're smart, you do your research, you invest in Jalen Hurts and Tua, blah, blah, blah. Someone bought those cards. Now, that someone who bought those cards is the same person who bought the Futera card at $200,000, the Marvel set at $200,000. They're the same people who bought at a high. Now, eventually, the Tua and the Jalen Hurts will be less than what they are right now. All right? There's a shot that I'm wrong. Maybe they go on to have undefeated seasons this year. One of them wins the Super Bowl and goes on to become Tom Brady, and the price continues to. Very possible, highly unlikely. What we've seen time and time again is that run-up, the sale by the individual who makes money, and then the sale is in there. It's a $200,000 Tua, and then in week 10 or next season, the person sells that Tua they paid $200,000 for, and they're getting $30,000 or $20,000.
So I want to interject for a brief second. People out there might be thinking, wait a second, the same thing is happening with the Jordan Fleer.
Yep.
Here's why on the surface it looks the same, but it's different. The Jordan Fleer is a card that's been through cycles.
Correct.
And that nuance, that little detail is so much more important than people realize.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it has been cycled. Now it's going down, and you could say, wow, that Marvel set is down $200,000. It only needs another 200 to go, and it meets the amount that the Jordan's down. You're right. And I'm not saying buy a Jordan card right now. Not at all, right? Keep in mind, at the current prices, I'm still up on my Jordan by a lot. right? But
it's important to understand the distinction between something that's been pumped and is in their infancy of cycling versus something that's run and has cycled before and has a track record of collectability.
That there's 300 and something of this, and Tua has more than 300 one-of-ones, I think. So, let alone all these other cards that are selling for all this money. So anyway, the point that's there is, well, right now that's held out as a win. Wow, look at this. Look at the Lewis Hamilton cards. Look at the F1 cards. Look at the Alcaraz cards. If you were smart and bought here, look what you could do. That's short-sighted. Because ultimately what's going to happen there is, while that is a quick win, right? It's a quick hitter for you. It's the same thing we talked about, right? The hobby needs to not be Top Shot. The hobby needs to look at this and say, we have a great product here. We have to make it successful over the long haul. The same thing, right? People, I'm not telling you not to take your wins. I'm the one telling you to sell your Aaron Judge. But you have to realize what winds up happening here. Even these wins eventually turn into hobby losses. They eventually turn into, a couple people post the Alcaraz win, but in a month or 2 or 3, when you have 10 people or 20 people posting them for 10 grand, 12 grand, 8 grand, and it's down 60, 70, 80% from that one sale that one person made their money on, now it's headlines. Now it's, look at this set. Now it's picked up. Now it's, oh my God, the hobby. If you got in and bought at the peak, you're down so much money. That then becomes the overarching story. So I think it's funny, no one talks about this, but the stuff that people hold out as wins, more often than not, they become big hobby losses as, the cycle plays out.
It's a fantastic point. It really is. And what's interesting, exciting, difficult, fun, challenging, use your word here, is that there's the athlete that you invest in, but there's also the supply and demand side of cards. And sometimes they get blurry, right? Like a lot of people with the Alcaraz card were like, do you not trust that Djokovic has claimed that Alcaraz is the future of tennis? And I'm saying it doesn't matter that Alcaraz is the future of tennis. I'm just telling you simple economics of supply and demand. And what happens when a new product is released, it hits the market, it goes up 3, 4, 5, 6x over a month. We've seen it with Top Shot. We've seen it with cards. Here's why. Here's, the whole Mark Twain, it rhymes. We've just seen it. So why not use what we just saw a year?
It happened with Beanie Babies. There was a finite amount of the older ones. People went back, and then there was Series 1s, and there were, it happened the same thing. Most collectibles, this is what happens. And then the McDonald's ones are collectible, and they do the second series of McDonald's, and there's so many of them, and everybody has the same idea. Let me go to McDonald's and buy Beanie Babies and sell them on eBay. Well, if everyone's buying them just to sell them for more, that becomes a problem for that segment. And that's
so last May, we did an episode where Cage preached caution for Bored Apes, VeeFriends, and NFTs. It was a passionate episode. And man, if I could have that back, you'll see where I'm going with this. A few months later, I was driving my parents to the airport to Ukraine. Here's a little story for you guys. And I get a call. From a named Gary Vaynerchuk. Surprised, out of the blue. This guy never calls me. What's he calling me for? He was like, hey guys. Hey Andrew. I didn't appreciate how you guys called me out on that show. We have a relationship.
He was mad at me.
And I know what I'm about.
But
Cage was calling me out. And now looking back at that, I wonder, why did he call me? How could I have handled that situation differently? Because after that call, Cage, I called you. And he's like, he cares about what a tiny little podcast like ours is saying about him? Why does he care? I'm still wondering that. Why does he care? And now if he went back and listened to that same episode today, when we were preaching caution for people who were dumping all their money in the things that he was speaking about, would he have that same response?
I don't know. All I know is I always find myself in the contrarian play, guys. And you know what? Maybe I'll be wrong. But, Andrew points out the macroeconomic picture. And all we're trying to say here is, sprinkle in a little caution, do your research, know where you're getting your information from. And that includes me, right? You don't just listen to me blindly. You got to know I'm somebody who's usually got my foot on the brake. And over the last year, if you would have listened to that, you probably would be doing okay. But I have the ability of capping upside, don't I, Andrew?
If you guys made it to minute 35 and you want some little bit of homework, go to YouTube and search Mr. Beast Reveals CryptoPunks and have you guys some fun.
Ooh, I like Mr. Beast. He makes a good burger.
There's no editing. This is a clip from Mr. Beast on the Impulsive Show. Let me know what you guys think in the comments.
Thank you all for listening to another episode of Lucas, Tigers, and Bronzo Mai. I wanted to tell you about a new service that we have starting as of today, and I'm really, really excited to bring it to you guys. So, as a part of our partnership with SGC, we got 50 free submissions every single month, and many of you have taken advantage of that. And it's amazing that we could have the opportunity to 650 episodes, 675 episodes in, to go ahead and give back to our community. As people were sending those cards in, they asked, can we send 5, 10, 20 more cards to you guys? We'll pay for it, but we wanted them graded with SGC. You guys know SGC is turning cards around in 13 to 14 business days, have incredible customer service, and their secondary market values are going up day after day after day. And that's exciting for the hobby and exciting for the grading landscape. So we didn't want to just rush into it. We wanted to do it right. And what we did was I relocated here to Boca Raton, Florida. I opened up a P.O. box maybe 5 minutes away from SGC, and I will be hand delivering and hand picking up the cards. So you don't have to worry about anyone else touching your cards. It will be me, and I will update you every step of the way. So here's how it's going to work. I'm going to personally pick up the cards from a P.O. box, prep them, new card saver, new penny sleeve, and deliver them to SGC every single Tuesday. Why Tuesday? Well, it lets the stragglers over the weekend come back through on Monday and gives me a day to prep, and it basically gives SGC the entire week to work on grading those cards. Once your cards pop, only then at the end of the process will you be paying for the service. It's $25 per card, simple as that, and the turnaround times have never been faster. We're hearing right now 13, 14, less than 20 business days. So there it is. 9170 Glades Road, number 135 is the P.O. Box in Boca Raton, Florida, 33434. 9170 Glades Road, number 135, Boca Raton, Florida, 33434. Of course, you could shoot me an email or shoot me a text anytime, and I'm always available. Many of you already have my email. It's iamandrewgoldberg@gmail.com. or my cell phone number, 215-519-9154. Reach out with any questions. I could walk you through the process. I've hopped on the call with quite a few of you, and I'm happy to do that. Love you, Luca Nation.